Okay, got another edition of my rock and roll stories from the 80s and 90s. This one's about auditions and some of the things I experienced while I was in a band that was auditioning people. First off, when I got into music, this guitar player over here, Steve, he plucked me from another band, and it wasn't much of an audition. They were kind of an upstart. And whenever you got an upstarts don't really audition people. They just invite them over to jams, really informal. So in my early days, I didn't do any auditioning. I was always in a band that was auditioning other people. When this band got started, it was the same. Excuse me. It was the same thing. We were an upstart, so, it was informal. After a while, as you can see by the banner, we got our act together, and we were playing clubs and kind of well known. So we held auditions, and I can't remember whether the auditions took place before Bob here joined the band, or if these auditions that I have in my memory took place after he left the band and we auditioned again. Doesn't really matter, I guess. But this is Bob. He used to play in a band called Steel Vengeance from Michigan. And he was in the band about, I guess, 9 months. And the reason we picked him is because he had a full stack, 2 heads, guitar. He knew what he was doing. He played well, and he was ready to roll. He had a van. He was just ready to roll. So even though we had a guy named Jeff that later joined the band after Bob here quit, even though we liked his look and he liked his playing a lot, he had a lot of potential. He was kind of young, and he didn't have a car. He wasn't working. He didn't have any gear. We just went with Bob. And so about the auditions, we put an ad in the paper, and it's one of those kind of things where we scheduled a bunch of people to come into the band room, and we were practicing on Miramar Road, I believe. Yeah, by the Naval Air Station at the time. Now it's a Marine Air Station. So it was like 4 or 5 rooms, and some guys that were in construction trades had rented it, and they made room. Basically, they needed a rehearsal space, so but they made other ones, so all the bands could pay their way. Basically, they were running like a little rehearsal operation. It was a pretty cool place. Didn't have any AC, but it did have like ventilation. You could bring in air with a vent, so that was nice. And we were there for a while. But the guys started rolling in, and I don't remember much. I just remember some of the ones that stuck out. These are examples of people that you don't want to be when you're auditioning. And the thing to remember is, when you're auditioning for a band, you may play great, and you may have everything that a normal band is looking for, but you may not have what that specific band is looking for. And that was the case with our auditions. We had this guy from Puerto Rico came in, and he he played, and he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad at all. He just totally not the style that we were looking for. And so at the end of the audition, I don't know what it was, but everybody expected to be let right into the band. Of course, when we said we got your number and we'll call you, don't call us, he kind of got offended, and he wasn't comprehending that you can be a great player, you can have all the stuff that a guitar player wants to have, but you may not be the fit. And so and that's not to say that he was definitely an out or a no. It's just that we definitely weren't going to sign the first guy up that came through the door. We're going to check out a bunch of guitar players. That's the smart way to do it. And so he got like a little offended. I thought it was a little strange. Of course, if he did have a chance, he probably didn't have one after that. A little bit of attitude problem. Another guy came in, and he looked like Slash. He wore a top hat, and he had a Marshall stack. It was like one of those white Marshall stack deals. And he played well too, and I guess I think everybody was playing one of our songs, I don't know. He played well, but he just didn't fit, exactly. And if I was making another band where I needed that style, he'd been fine. but he was cool. You know, he didn't give us an attitude. He came in, he showed us what he had, and he left, which is what you should do. Show him what you have, and leave, and hope they call you. So after Bob did leave, we did an audition, and we did end up auditioning a guy named Chris. It was a friend of mine, and it was him and a guy named Jeff that actually got in. Let me pull Jeff up. There's Jeff. Jeff did get in the band, and Chris Morgan, that was the other guy. He was he would have been, you know, if Jeff wasn't auditioning, he probably would have ended up in the band. That was Bob over there. And so Jeff ended up in the band, and that was that. That was the audition story for that band. The other band that I was in later, when I quit this band, I formed Sanity's Void, and this is like the earliest photo, the very first photo that we ever took. And the guy on the left there played drums, but he really wasn't in the band. He was just, you know, filling out the photo for us. So there's Chris Morgan on the right, singer Greg in the center, and me next to him on the left. And we were a total upstart. We had one 4-track song of a song that I wrote, and we put it together with a drum machine, and we handed this out to drummers. I mailed it to people if they wanted to audition, and we had quite a bit of people come in. We rented actually a room just for auditions all night, and we gave them their time slots. And I don't remember everybody that came in, but there was a couple guys that I wanted to come in didn't show. So, you know, it was one situation where, you know, a year down the road we're playing a gig, and they're in a different band, and, you know, they come up to me and it's like, man, I really should have auditioned for you guys. You guys are awesome. So, you know, you never know what band you should have auditioned for, and you should have taken more serious. Anyway, the highlight of this audition was this guy came in, and he really couldn't hardly play. He set up his drums, and there's a lot of double bass in this song, like severe double bass. And because he couldn't play the double bass, he did it on the toms, and it, you know, kind of sounded cheesy, of course. But, you know, I wasn't going to discount him, because we're an upstart, and we were going to write songs, and we were willing to work with a guy and bring him up to speed over the course of several months, which is what you have to do sometimes. So I didn't discount him. But when the audition was over, he wanted to know what's up, and I'm like, well, we'll call you. We got a lot of guys to look at. And he tried the high pressure salesman stuff with me. He looks at me, he's all, well, you know, I might not be around at that point. And I was like, well, I guess we'll have to deal with that when the time comes. I didn't know what to tell him. You know, he got offended, and he left. And if he had a shot, if there wasn't some better players that came in there, he pretty much killed that with his attitude. It was like he thought he was God's gift to drums, and he couldn't even play the song. He had to resort to playing on the toms. That total cheating. So that was lame. And I don't really remember too many other people except for the guy that got the gig. And I don't have a picture of him. A guy named Mike Paz. He came in, and he was a little rough, but he could actually do the song. It was, you know, a little choppy. But, you know, I also realized that it was his first time playing it. So it was going to get better. And he did get better, and he was the guy that I'm glad that we picked. He became a really good drummer. He kind of grew up as a drummer in the band. Kind of, we all did on our instruments. And so the only other stories I got is when I auditioned for the band I'm in now. I heard some music by my place, and it was coming out of storage sheds adjacent to where I live. I went down there, and they had the door open, and I said hi, and, you know, I introduced myself, said I play bass. You guys don't happen to need a bass player, because they didn't have a bass player. And they said, actually, we got a bass player. She's just not here right now. So okay, so I said I'll come back and give you my contact information. You know, because you have a bass player now. You never know what's going to happen in a month or two. And, you know, these guys are younger than me, so I know what they were thinking. They're like, who's this old fucker that thinks he's going to come into our band and play the Rolling Stones? That's just whatever, dude. I know what they were thinking, because I was thinking the same stuff when I was 21, and we'd encounter some old musicians. So I dropped off my information, and I, of course, you know, they did down the road need a bass player, but they got somebody else because, you know, I was like I said, I was older, to be expected. And how I actually ended up in this band was I put out an ad offering to pay any drummer $75 a show. I watched a Quiet Riot documentary, and the Frankie was saying how that's how he got into Quiet Riot. Kevin DuBrow was offering him $75. He said, for $75, I'll be anybody's drummer. So I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I can swing that at least for a few shows to get started. So I put it out, and the drummer from this band that I met at the storage units, he contacted me, and he was game. So I met with him, we played, and then I was sending him videos of the stuff that we'd be doing, and he was checking out. And about that time, the bass player, who was also the singer in this band, decided that he wanted to stop doing vocals, or stop doing bass and just concentrate on vocals. So he you know, was funneling the videos that I was sending to the guitar player, and they all agreed that, hey, this guy's pretty good. Hey, we're looking for a bass player. Let's ask him to learn a song and come down and jam with us. So I was approached over Facebook about this, and I was kind of shocked because you know, I don't have any rock star image anymore. You know, I look nothing like that anymore. And so I said, well, yeah, I'd be you know, stupid not to. I don't know if the band that I wanted to get together with, get going, was going to work or not. You just never know. So I wasn't going to say no. So I learned Mayhem's Freezing Moon and played it with them, and they taught me one of their songs on the spot. And it was kind of an audition. It was kind of informal, because you know, they hadn't played in these shows, and they had gone through lineup changes, and so, you know, sometimes getting into Upstart, a lot of musicians are like, oh, if they're not gigging, I'm not going to waste my time. That's a real bad outlook, because you can get into a really good band. The band that I joined, these young guys, we're really coming into our own right now. We've put out our own CD, and it's happening. We don't play a whole lot, but the band is really, really good. I mean, they're top-notch musicians for their age, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So that's my rock and roll story for this segment, Auditions.